Okay, now we'll talk about the parasite and then its types of the parasite. So what is parasite? Parasite is one which benefits from the other, the host. Okay, so we'll see the types. So first, parasite, it can be animal, plant, which lives on upon other organisms, technically called its host, and draws its nutrient directly from it. So parasite is something, it can be plant or animal that live on other things, right? Other organisms, right? And that other organisms is called host, and from there it draws its nourishment directly from it. Okay, and also harm that host. So now the parasites are divided into endogenous and ectoparasite, endo and ectoparasite according to the site of parasitism. And then parasites, we can also um, call them permanent or temporary one according to their duration of parasitism. And parasite may also be obligate, facultative, accidental, or opportunistic ones according to their property of parasitism. So let's see one by one in detail. Endoparasite is a parasite that lives within the host. Okay, it's simple terminology. This parasites that live inside the host. Ectoparasite is a parasite that lives on the outer surface in the superficial tissues of the host. So it lives on the outer surface, outside of the host. Then you got the permanent parasite, a parasite that lives its entire adult life within or in its host. So it lives in whole life cycle, adult life cycle within its host. That's why we call it permanent parasite. And temporary parasites, some small organisms such as mosquito, feed on their host and then they leave. So this is the temporary, like they attach to the surface, they take some blood, feed themselves and then leave that. So they're temporary. And obligate parasites are physiologically dependent upon their host and usually cannot survive if kept isolated from them. For example, Plasmodium vivax, malaria plasmodium, right? So this one is like totally dependent on the host. Once you remove them from the host, they cannot survive and they die. So these kind of parasites are called obligate parasites. Now we got, so facultative parasites are actually free living organisms. They are parasitic, but actually they do not rely on any host for completion of their life cycle, right? So the examples of this is strongyloids, stercoralis. So they do not depend on one host, right? Where they get the chance, they complete their life cycle. So that's why they are called facultative parasite. Accidental parasites are the parasites which attach to an unusual host, like lice. For example, it's in one host, lice, you know that it can spread from one person to other persons. When, touch or, like these, they can transfer accidentally to the other people. And opportunistic parasite. This is usually live in human body and do not cause clinical manifestations. But when the host immunity decreases, they reproduce abnormally and result in disease, for example, Toxoplasma gondii. So this kind of parasite, they just find a chance to produce the disease, right? When there is a special time or like when they see when the host immunity is decreased, so then they attack this host and cause disease.